Broadcasting live from Black Dragon Gate on the Prime Material Plane. This is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome, everybody, to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Cameron and Kathleen.
What up?
And today, it's a Q&A day because nothing...
Thirst for knowledge.
Yeah, nothing staggering happened in the land of MTG news.
Yeah, no one's upset about anything.
Yeah.
No secret layers?
There's a secret lair forthcoming. It'll probably have been announced by the time this episode goes live, so I guess we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, there was so little news that Weekly MTG this week, they invited Wheeler on to talk about singleton formats.
Wow.
So...
dire.
Which I only rib him about because it was literally broadcasting against us broadcasting content they literally sponsored us to make. Anyway, with Wheeler in it also, which was funny. They ended the stream and then he came over and right after his pod was finished airing, he was like, "Oh, I missed it." Anyway, if you haven't checked out the Commander Legends Dungeons and Dragons Battle for Baldur's Gate release videos that we did, they are also on this channel, assuming you're watching on the YouTube. If you're listening, bounce on over to our YouTube because we got two excellent videos of we took a whole draft. We did a big old Commander Legends draft with 8 people, and we turned it into 2 different videos, each with the 2 different Commander games and draft portions of the draft focusing on the people that are in those games, and they're just it's just good Commander content. It's real clean. It's good stuff. So you should check that out. They're Pod 1 featuring special guest Shivam Bhatt and Pod 2 featuring special guest Alias V, which was nice that we were able to get some guests in town for that. But today, it is a Q&A, and of course, it is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR for your cardboard needs. You can buy yourself some Commander Legends. Why not? You could probably pre-order, I don't know, what is it? A Double Masters, probably. I don't know.
Got a release date for other stuff that's finally,
Yeah, they announced Unfinity finally is October 7th. You can't pre-order that yet, I don't think. Maybe you can. I don't know. Anyway, head on over to cardkingdom.com/LRR and you can find out. Let them know he sent you. Say loading ready run sent me button, please. And they'll give you a little button that says some kind of funny magic thing. Right now it's weird tap, but okay. It's in the draft actually, because in the live chat when we broadcast these live, someone was commenting on the way Shivam taps because he says he goes to the left or the right depending on which hand he's using.
Mm-hmm. Is Shivam ambidextrous?
Maybe. I don't know.
Seems like a chaotic Shivam move.
I think the weird tap at OK was probably. I feel like this was subtly directed specifically at Surge.
Yeah.
Because Surge felt so vindicated when Arena came out and did the 45-degree tap, because Surge would always do a very clean 45 degrees, but everyone else tends to go 90.
Well, it's much easier to keep things lined up if you just go full sideways.
Yeah.
But Surge, being a neat and tidy fellow.
Yeah. Also,
IJK. It's...
What do you do? What?
Oh, it's an old...
How to...
The identity vectors.
Oh. For those only listening, Cameron's doing interesting things with his fingers.
Yeah. 90 degrees, it has nothing. There's no 1001.
This show is also brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, which supports not only the show, but everything we do, and we really appreciate that. So yeah, James, who is also here on TAC, I should have said, fired out the ask for questions to you on the LRRMTG Twitter account, and these are some of the responses we got. So let's answer some questions. First up, we have from Dr. Sam Waters. Are there, taking into account all the factors, too many Magic products a year right now? This question comes up a lot. I mean, maybe it comes up more so in the previous years. Like, I don't actually think so is the thing. For us, probably. But for most people, I don't think so, because it's like I would say that for the majority of people, it's not actually a big deal because a lot of these products are serving different audiences. Mm-hmm. But for the most personally invested And I would say there's a direct correlation between that and the most vocal of the community, for whom all of these products could potentially be for them. That for those people, I can understand an amount of product fatigue, certainly through the summers when they tends to be. I mean, you look at, we just had Streets of New Capenna. It feels like just, I guess it was over a month ago now, but then Commander Legends, and then Double Masters, which are all fairly big releases, right? But like, not everyone is going to be interested in Commander Legends, and not everyone's going to be interested in Double Masters. So like for a lot of people, it doesn't actually necessarily matter, but for people, like us who kind of have to be involved with everything, and for people who wish to engage with all of the things, then maybe that is too many. I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm not going to lie. I find it difficult to keep up with it all and remember everything that's happened. Like when we do our end of year roundups and we go through each set that has come out that year, I keep thinking, this is a lot of magic. This is a lot of magic.
And we were supposed to have had Unfinity at the 1st of April, right? Because that was supposed to come out on April Fool's. But now it just means that the fall is going to be Dominaria, United, and Unfinity, and the Brothers' War in all three of those in the span of like 2.5 months. Like,
Oof.
Right? I don't know exactly what this, maybe it's more like 3 months, but still, so now the fall is going to feel more crowded than the spring and summer. I don't know. I know that folks react very negatively, and I don't believe it is unjustified necessarily, but they react negatively to the sort of, this product is not for everyone, right? This product may not be for you. Because sometimes it feels like it gets used in a bad faith sort of scenario, right? That it's like, well, this ridiculous collectible thing is way too expensive. And it's like, well, maybe that's not for you. But I don't think that, like, not every Magic product that they release, even these big sets, is for every single Magic player. And so I think for the majority of Magic players, it's actually not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But certainly the people that live in the online spaces where we coexist, I can understand it being an issue.
Well, I say this a lot because I like to keep up on new music releases, and I say, like, that there's an always a fire hose of music coming out, and it's impossible to keep up with all of it. And yeah, you just have to, like, this is my personal motto. It's like, I'm not going to listen to everything that comes out. There's huge portions of because it would be unreasonable. And if you're, I don't care about secret layers because I don't purchase expensive collectibles because I am really cheap. And it's true, I just don't want to spend the money on them, and so I don't, right? Like, I don't care about having a blinged out commander deck. I barely care about having a commander deck. Precons are fine. Those are affordable, right? So, like, you just let it go. And, like, my opinion is, like, is it Kamigawa? Well, then we didn't have enough time with that set. Is it New Capenna? Oh, new set could come out anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly broke me of my desire to collect everything, but it happened at some point in the distant, hazy past. And yeah, the argument that, well, no, obviously we have to get everything, it doesn't land with me. I reject that premise. But I mean, yeah, when it's a set that I like going away from drafting, that's when there's too many sets.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
And I think,
as Kathleen said,
I think honestly, like, I think that may have been, like, everybody was having such a good time drafting Neon Dynasty.
Yeah.
I think honestly, that's when I heard people saying there's too much Magic stuff coming up. I think it's because they're like, well, New Capenna is right around the corner, and I think people were like, no, there's such a weird format. There's so much weird stuff that you can do in the format, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, I don't know,
and like
more flexibility on what sets you can draft on Arena.
Strixhaven was just back on the quick draft. And
Yes.
Kathleen and I drafted a lot of Strixhaven quick draft because I love to draft and I do not like Streets of New Capenna, and so I was like, heck yeah, let's use the gold. Let's draft my ridiculous Teamer big stuff deck and go ham. And I had a blast. because it's a good draft format, right? Yeah. So it's
4 or 5 color Prismari centered 7 drops forever.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did a Prismari deck for my last draft, and I was just splashing green for 10 Azir Quandrix, which I have to say is extremely good.
Yeah. I've had a lot of fun just going back and playing actually Witherbloom decks.
Yeah.
And just getting in right on the ground level and delivering a flurry of blows to the kidneys of these Prismari decks that are like not doing a whole lot.
No,
and then
that's me.
like getting them down to 2 life, then drawing 6 lands in a row and dying. That's my premier Strixhaven.
Yep.
I did some Silver Quill drafts, and I could get up to 4 wins very reliably getting under the ground of like these like decks that really can't do anything until turn 4. And by that point, I've got like, you know, I've gone on a study break, and I've attacked them with a 6/7 Clever Luminancer and stuff like that. And they're at 3 life, you know. But then you just get run over because they're like, well, now I have 2 4/4s, and it's like, oh crap. Right?
Yeah, no, and I guess the lesson from that kind of experience is that, as in higher education, it's really your ability to just stick with it,
and hold on
tenaciously for as long as possible.
Yeah, D's for degree.
Yeah.
So in summation, I do want to lampshade, because I know that some people will throw this in the comments that, of course, because we do work with Wizards of the Coast, that it is to our benefit, or that we are somehow obliged to be like, no, everything that Wizards does is fine, bring on the product, and all that. And that's not the case, because they don't control what we say on this show. But my general opinion on whether or not there's too much stuff is, for some people, I'm sure it is, and that's valid. And for me, not really, because it doesn't bug me. But also we are obliged to at least pay attention to all of it. So sometimes it can feel maybe a little overwhelming to sort of keep track of, but I think I don't think it's as big a deal as it gets made out to be in the online spaces where the Magic community congregates, and it's probably like just not relevant for some players.
Yeah,
I would expect.
And I implore people, if you don't like it and you don't care about it, then don't give it your attention. Focus on things you do like, and, the diminished consumer attention and response will send a message to Wizards. If you don't want something, don't engage with it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. You don't have to waste your time or your energy. Listen to music you do like, right?
Yeah.
Let's engage with our next question. From Too Bizarre, who asks, WotC errated companion, and most recently, hideaway. Is there a keyword you would like to see tweaked? Interesting. Those are 2 very different levels of errata. Like companion, they changed completely, and then hideaway
They just cleaned up a bit.
Well, no, hideaway, they changed how hideaway worked, and then sort of reverse engineered the cards that previously had hideaway to just now have sort of a specific value of hideaway. So the previous cards still work the same way that they worked before, almost identically. Not quite, but almost. But now sort of expanded what hideaway can do, which I think is kind of interesting. Whereas companion is a complete companion was a mistake. But that's neither here nor there.
And we've moved on from that.
Yeah. That was, as a reminder, because it was a couple of years ago in the middle of a pandemic, but it used to be that your companion would just sort of sit there. You could have a companion on your deck, even in limited, as long as your deck followed the rules of the given companion. And then you could just play it.
Yeah, it was like having an 8th card in your hand.
Just play it. Mm-hmm. And now you have to pay 3 mana, 3 generic mana at sorcery speed to move it from the command zone into your hand, and then you can play it, which is better. Still weird. There was so many at the championships. There was so many companions. People with using Luris particularly is very frightening. Anyway, what mechanic would I like to see tweaked?
I've been thinking about this, and I think the problem I have answering this question is that good mechanics remain with me Like the ones that I find useful and fun to play with, like remain in the forefront of my mind. And the ones that are not, that I don't get to use, just get discarded immediately and get replaced with like fast food jingles instantaneously. So if you were to ask me what Unearth did, or not Unearth, case in point, the I don't know, the Golgari mechanic from Return to Ravnica block, I would just be forced to sing the Big Mac song.
Scavenge. That's the one.
That was okay.
Scavenge
It was just not aggressively costed enough.
You mentioned Ravnica. Here's one. Just because it almost gets there on flavor, but is very confusing mechanically, and it's the original Orzhov mechanic of Haunt.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
I would like to see Haunt tweaked a bit. I don't know exactly how, because I'm not a game designer, but the original way that Haunt works was the creature enters the battlefield and a thing happens, like X thing happens. Then, when that creature dies, you exile it haunting another creature. And when the haunted creature dies, X thing happens again.
Right.
And it's like, I get it, because it's like the creature dies and now it's a ghost haunting this other creature, and then when that creature finally dies, then you get to do the thing again.
It's very flavorful.
Yeah, but it's so mechanically clunky.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's an example. James has brought up Blind Hunter. Very good card. So 2 white-black for a 2/2 flying bat, and it has Haunt. So when it comes into play, or the creature it haunts is put into a graveyard, target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So yeah, then Haunt is when this dies, exile it haunting target creature. So ETB, you drain for 2, and then when it dies, you done a creature, and then when that creature dies, then you also drain for 2. And so it's this weird like delayed effect. Like it's flavorfully, it's like so close, but mechanically it's super clunky.
Yeah, it's an example of one of those mechanics where, or the inversion of the mechanic where you're like, no, it works the way you think it does.
Yeah.
Right? This is the one where you're like, what? Okay. I'm pretty sure I've got it now.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm
again,
going to have
I
a
don't-
judge watch me while I do this, just in case I screw it up.
Yeah. And
And
again, I
you're,
don't
like,
know
looking-
what to suggest for a fix. I just
Yeah.
I like Haunt. Like I enjoy it. I think it's not good.
I
Yeah.
feel like WotC, deep in the development caves, has a list of mechanics that they think are in need of a tune-up. Because, like, we had Shroud, and no one liked that. And then we had Hexproof, and everybody's like, wait, that's worse. And now we have Ward, which is, like, perfect. It's hard to deal with, but it's not impossible.
I like Ward.
I will pay the 3 life for the extra 2 mana, and that's just the cost of doing business sometimes, right? So, like, I feel like there is a list where they're working through, like, trying to fix things that are a little unfun and in need of a tweak. And they seem to be in, like... It definitely, I feel like WotC is in the mode where these old mechanics aren't sacrosanct and they can be adjusted.
Yeah. Remember when Dominaria came out, they played around with protection from,
Yeah.
right? That was like, oh, protection's back, but weird. And then there was also, I think more recently than that, there was a card or 2 with hexproof from,
Yeah.
Yes.
which was also weird. Not as bad as just pure hexproof. Hexproof was just sort of annoying. Is just sort of annoying. I do prefer Ward, but yeah, it's yeah. I don't know.
Well, Ward is symmetrical, whereas Hexproof was like really unfair in your favor if it was your creature.
I don't think. Wait, no. You can target your own stuff with Ward.
Yes, but you got to pay for it.
No. You can. Ward is a wait. Hang
Don't
on.
you?
No, you can definitely target your own stuff with Ward without paying the Ward cost.
I don't know. My familiarity with it is within the Owl and Shield Mage or whatever.
Yeah, but if
it
you
is.
cast a combat trick targeting your own Owl and Shield Mage, you don't have to pay 3 life, right?
I don't know. I was never just casting Study Break and tapping their creatures. Like,
I have now had every experience I've had with Ward deleted from my head.
yeah.
I just mainly use Arena to handle it.
Yeah, it looks like it's whenever it's targeted by an opponent.
Okay, that's what I
Okay.
thought.
Good.
Okay.
All right. But still, I can target it. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
unfair in the way that hexproof is unfair. It's
No,
like
you
my
just have
opponent
to-
can pile stuff on their creature, and I'm just like, well, guess I'm losing this game.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, there's my Nullhide Ferox, which is a bad example, Graham, because you can pay to remove the. Anyway. Yeah.
If you don't like what I said about Ward, let us know in the comments.
I love that you're always willing to turn anything into greater engagement numbers.
Well, I think it's important that we recognize that YouTube is playing a dirty game. And
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
The only way to win is to, you can't, no. Normally, the only way to win is to not play. But in the case of YouTube specifically, no, you just gotta play along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't like even if you think it's completely reasonable, pretend to be mad. I don't know. Use it as a creative writing prompt. I'm not gonna get mad at you or be offended.
All right, let's go on to the next question then. From Oh God, how do I tweet? They ask, how new/returning player friendly would you say Magic is doing right now? Haven't played since the Return to Ravnica, speaking of which, pre-release, and I'm on the fence about dipping my feet back in. I actually think it's in a pretty good spot, I would say.
Yeah, like I mean, it
Depends what format.
Okay, you mentioned going to the RTR pre-release, so I assume that you are comfortable with limited. And so the limited sets right now, New Capenna is accessible, but I don't think it's like particularly I don't think it's a particularly good example of what WotC has been able to do with their really good sets in the last few years. New Capenna is probably totally fine. Baldur's Gate, Battle for Baldur's Gate, seems like a lot of fun with a lot of interesting deployments of existing mechanics that I think are interesting and fun to play with. So, if you are fond of limited, then yeah, I think now is a good time to come back and play some games with friends. But yeah,
We used to, some years ago, recommend that a great tool for new players to get into the game basically for free and learn the rules and the mechanics was that we used to actually heavily recommend Duels of the Planeswalkers.
yes,
Because it was a computer game that it handled the rules, and it was 1-to-1 actually all the rules with Magic. Now we have Magic Arena, and obviously there are many ways you can pour money into Arena if you so desire, but you can play it for, like, it is free to download, it is free to sign up. There are many ways that you can play Magic Arena completely free, and it's a great way to sort of reintroduce yourself to the game and a bunch of the new cards in a way that, as you mentioned, with Ward, right? Like Arena will handle it, right? And there's tutorials in the game. You can play against, Sparky, the little glowing ball who speaks at you with a British voice.
And there's also like the ladder play for like standard or something like that. Like, you don't have to play that. There's just like, you can just play against random people using the decks that Arena gives you to get an idea of what's going on, and you can hit your dailies, and eventually you can get enough gold to grind out like a draft, and then you get some picks, and then you'll get some wild cards, and eventually I have put $40 into Arena total because I've been able to bill it back to the site. And I have plenty of gems and gold.
There are many ways to sort of continue playing for free, and there's guides that can sort of explain that. But in terms of just like onboarding a totally new player or even a returning player, I think Arena is honestly a really good way to do it. And you can there's like starter packs and welcome packs that you could buy at your LGS or stuff like that will also help. But I mean, in terms of returning players, you already sort of have a sort of a fundamental grasp, and so I think that Arena is probably just a great way to do that.
yeah. This is also, my recommendation would be operating within your comfort level of what kind of interactions you're willing to have. If you can pick up a few packs of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and are able to find a draft pot of it, it's awesome. It's
such a good
really,
format.
really good.
It's super fun.
And the social aspect of Magic, I think, is one of its main drawing points.
Yeah.
So that's not something you get particularly strongly on Arena.
That's true.
But Arena will handle it takes a load off, and it has actively made me a worse Magic player because now I don't have to think about anything while thinking about other things.
It's good at teaching you when you have priority.
That's true.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Next, from Lord Hosk. What's the best 1-mana black sorcery with a 6-mana flashback cost in all of Magic history?
I thought long and hard about this question.
Is there even more than one
Another
option?
Yeah.
Is there more than one?
I did not look this up.
James is going to look it up right now.
Scryfall.com.
I'm pretty sure there's not.
I think it's only bump in
It's
the
only
night.
this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's a good card, though.
It's a good
very,
card.
very good card.
It's S tier in the search parameters,
yeah.
Yeah.
given the search parameters. It was decent in Innistrad.
It was quite good in Innistrad.
For those who may be new to the Loading Ready Run Magic community, quick explanation. We did a draft. It feels weird to say it because it's been ages since we've actually done this, where we did a draft at the Moonbase that was in no way recorded or televised. That's a weird feeling. But we did a draft of Innistrad at Moonbase Mark III, and Adam and Paul both ended up with just a numerous bump in the nights. And their game, they were just like bump in the night, and it just
Flashback bump of the night.
it just became like an in joke around the office.
Well, especially because I guess I lose to bump in the night, right?
Yeah.
And then we had an idea that we would do we'd make a bunch of little buttons, little 1 inch pinback buttons that we would take to conventions. And the way that you would get a convention button is that you would give us, a magic card. And we were like, we want to find just a dirt cheap common that's, because we're not trying to get value out of people. It's just that's the sort of, the secret handshake is, we give you this card and then you get the, the thing.
What costs 5 cents?
Yeah. And so we were like, oh, you'll be funny as bump of the night. So we did. So we said that. And some people, like Lord Hosk specifically, the asker of this question, provided us with so many bump in the nights that we have. I think it actually did fluctuate the price, at least briefly, and we have somewhere still
A strategic reserve.
Yeah, we have a strategic bump in the night reserve. We have thousands sitting around in the Moonbase and in boxes somewhere.
According to CardKingdom.com, what is that card worth now?
That's
If it's
also
a 25
I remember
cent
it got up
card.
to 25 cents, I
it
think.
got up there at one point.
Yeah,
Please,
because people wanted them.
please don't send us any
No,
more.
no, we don't need any.
You're not going to get anything out of it.
We still have them somewhere. They're in a box somewhere.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll have so many that people won't be able to give us any more. But I think that's the position we're in, actually.
they are currently 29 cents.
Wow.
On Card Kingdom.
Okay, 30 cents and we ship. 30 cents we cash out. So
It's our retirement fund. We got to hold.
yeah. So now you for those who which I think is statistically many of you, like a majority of you, for those who have joined us since then, now you're aware. All right, next question from Ethan Norfleet. Many people, sorry, I can't read that without the Borat voice now, seem to dislike the new Capenna Limited format for various reasons. I was among them at first, but as I've played more of it, it has grown on me. How do each of you feel about the format after having time to play with it? I tweeted about this from the LRRMTG Twitter account as well. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good limited format, or at least I don't think it's a fun limited format. There was an expectation, because it's a shard set and it's 3 colors, it's focused on 5 3-color groups, that there would be this opportunity for, like multicolor shenanigans, and there really is not.
And there was a lot of opportunity for shenanigans in the last set.
Yeah, you
Right?
could do 4 and 5 color stuff in Kamigawa.
Yes.
But
and
for some reason you can't do it here. And I don't know what it is. What I have found is that draft games of this have a single inflection point after which the game, the advantage bar of the game never returns, right? That like there will be turns where it's sort of back and forth in the very early developing stages of the game, and then there is a single counter spell or a single removal spell or a single combat trick after which the entire makeup of the game tips very hard in one direction and never changes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Compared to Kamigawa, where there was, it's like there'll be a removal spell or a combat trick or something, and it's like, okay, that's a setback, but we can sort of rally and recover. Things can change. Maybe I'll get a bomb out or whatever. But for some reason, games of Kamigawa Limited seem to sort of be, we're sort of doing some, games of New Capenna, we're doing like some early jockeying, being on the play, especially in the best of one queue is a huge difference. But we're sort of doing some early jockeying, and then there's just one inflection point, and then everything tips, and it slides all to one side, and you simply cannot recover no matter how good your cards are.
Yeah, and it's not like you get blown out by some bananas rare or something
No,
like
that's
that.
the thing. It
it's
could
like
be very
your opponent
small.
Casts that 2/1 flyer that draws you a card and gains you a life, and then like, oh, they've got a dude in the air, they're up a card, they're up a life, and like one life can really matter, and now I don't have a good blocker, and like I stumbled, or I just am slightly slower than them, right? And what I don't personally like about it, and I haven't played that much of it because like agree with everything you said, is that it's obvious that there are some groups that are better than others, like white, green, and white, blue are definitely the best colors because white is by far the best color.
Brokers in general.
In general, which I didn't know going into the pre-release.
You picked you were the only person who picked brokers.
Yeah, because I was just like, I don't like crime's like not my like flavor jam, honestly. So I'm kind of a little bit out on the flavor of the set, but like that doesn't really impact my enjoyment. But like for me, like it just seems like the whole draft format is a little bit warped, where if I'm not in the right seat, I'm already at a huge disadvantage, right? Like if like white's not open, then I have to go into a color pair that is so much less better, right? So I'm like starting out on the back foot, even if I have a good deck, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like in draft, you really, there's this, Broker's Ascendancy is so good that it warps the draft experience.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to cast it if you open it. Yep. Right? So you are incentivized to be in Brokers, even if you haven't seen one yet, because what if you do?
What if you do?
What if you do? You can't pass it, clearly. I have a theory that the reason that New Capenna draft feels so swingy and so bomb dependent is that it is not necessarily a bomby format, but the power level of the cards is high enough that you can't stumble at all. And like if it is a very unforgiving format for running a resented 23rd card. Right?
Yes.
Like if you have had a slightly slow draft and you're running like a 1/3 that doesn't really do anything, and that's your turn 2 play.
Oh, you might just be dead.
Yeah, right, because somebody plays something actually good and just like you never are able to claw back the strategic initiative.
Yeah. Whereas like
Right.
we were just talking about Strixhaven. Like Strixhaven, maybe you're playing this like hyper like aggressive low to the ground Silver Quill deck, and you've got like your arrogant poets and stuff like that, and you just go to the ground and you go aggressive and you just try to overwhelm your opponent before they can get their stuff on the ground, but you feel like you have a fighting chance doing that if you build the right Silver Quill deck, or you're in like the slower sort of Prismari or Witherbloom deck, and things are bad. You're really down on life. Like I stabilized at 1 life and then ended up winning that game.
Right.
And because, yes, it was not good, but I got my Witherbloom Pledge Mage down. I started gaining back life, or, now I've got my 2 4/4s and they don't have any more good attacks, and I can buy back cards and I can learn, and there's these new powerful spells that come in and that can sort of like push the advantage back my way. Like I feel like there's some give and take in the format, whereas this format, like the removal is not great unless it's in white, because like Murder's never been worse. So there's very
It's wild how bad Murder is in this format.
because 2 black, right?
Yeah.
And it's like black's not a color you want to be in.
Yeah.
That's my favorite color. Maybe that's why I don't like the set that much. But you know what I mean, right? Like there's just like there's very little opportunities to even the score unless you're already in the colors that do best anyhow.
Yeah, and my observation of that the inflection point issue is not just games that I've lost; it's also games that I've won, and the many more games that I've watched because I consume a lot of draft content. Like I've watched Kenji, play probably 100 games when you look considering how often he uploads, and it's like 7 or 8 games in a draft, right? But that's it's every game feels like that to me. That it's like I need to draw a 5th land this turn, or the game is over. Or as long as they don't have make disappear, then we're okay. Otherwise, the game is over. And you keep playing the game for many turns, but the game ended when that single removal spell or combat trick happened.
Yeah, you're just slowly losing ground, and it's very demoralizing.
So there you go. That's how I feel about New Capenna anyway. Next question from James. Follow-up question. How do you feel about the Alchemy New Capenna draft format? Thank you, James. This was the one thing I wanted to talk about this week. Because I tweeted this from the Loading Ready Run account. I did a draft, and I was like, okay, I don't like New Capenna draft, but the Alchemy format, where they replace one common with a New Capenna Alchemy card of a random rarity, does sort of feel like the Strixhaven Mystical Archive, in that it'll be a game of this format, but then there's this random ridiculous card that just completely you're not expecting, and it totally warps it. So at least it is more interesting, is what I said at the time. And then I followed that up a day or two later with like, wait, I've reevaluated and no, this is bad. Because the thing is, you are still playing New Capenna, which I, as established, don't like for various reasons. And some of these alchemy cards are obscene, like Broker's Ascendancy obscene. Have you seen Xander's Wake?
No.
This card is messed up. It's 1 and a black for an enchantment. Once per turn, it could be on your turn or the opponent's turn, when a creature you control dies, you draft a card from the Xander's Wake spellbook. Every card in the spellbook is a creature. So you never run out of creatures. It's a 2-mana enchantment where it's just anytime a creature dies, you draw another creature card, and then you play a creature, and then if a creature dies, you draw another creature card. It's oppressive.
I usually pay 3 mana for this, and it dies to removal spells.
Uh-huh.
And I usually have to pay a life. And then sometimes you draw, like, I'm basically thinking of like the classic 3 mana black, when a creature you control, or when a creature dies, draw a card.
Yeah.
And it usually has like pay a life.
Yeah.
No, this is draw. It's draw a creature that's not in your deck, and it just keeps going forever. Also, and there's one that's the Celestial Vault, I think it is. It's 1 and a white for an artifact. For white and tap, you draft a card from this spellbook, and you exile it under the vault, and then you pay 1 mana, and you put all the cards that you've exiled into your hand. All the cards in this spellbook, I think there's 1, maybe 2 that are uncommon. They're all rare or mythic angels.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Fabricator one from Kaladesh, that's an anthem. The Sigardian Savior, the Righteous Valkyrie. So you spend like 3, maybe 4 turns drafting cards into exile, and then you just get this grip of rare and mythic angels. It's stupid. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And so it's like you're already playing New Capenna Limited, but now the bomb level is absurd.
So like this, it favors a control deck, I guess, because you can just like, I guess you have to keep 1 mana up in case they drop, what's the cleanup crew?
Yeah.
Right? Destroy target artifact.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, an enormous stricture on a control deck to keep 1 mana up.
Yeah, exactly. If you're already in the correct nuke a pen a deck, which is to say green white or brokers or something. You're gonna want to main deck a Broken Wings in case your opponent casts Xander's Wake. There's some very, very busted cards. So yeah, initially I was like,
alchemy though.
Yeah, initially I was like, oh, at least it's interesting, and then I was like, wait, no, it's actually worse.
Yeah, now it's got all of the tempo problems, and there's a bunch of incredibly broken cards in the format as well that are way too powerful for the other cards.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, swing and a miss.
Yeah. Next question. From Churchill Zach. What mulligan rule is your favorite? In Minnesota, they say, we've started using the Minneapolis mulligan in Commander, where you draw 10 cards and pick 7 of them for your opening hand and shuffle the other 3 back into your library. Minneapolis mulligan. You made that up.
That sounds generous.
That's neat.
Yeah. I would use that because I play a lot of jank, and being able to see 10 cards and keep 7 would be a spell I would pay 10 for.
Yeah.
What was? I know that it was fun because it was very close to us regionally, and it was fun to say the Vancouver mulligan. But I now, for the life of me, cannot remember what the Vancouver mulligan was.
You mulligan if you have to mull
if you
below
mulligan,
7.
you scry one.
You scry one. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that was it. Right.
It was
so
nice
because it used to be when we started playing, it was just you draw 7, and then you draw 6, and then you draw 5. And the Vancouver mulligan was you draw 7. If you need to mulligan, you go to 6, but then you scry 1. If you go to 5, you scry 2.
No, I think you just scry.
Just scry 1? Okay.
Yeah.
But now we're on the London mulligan, introduced at Pro Tour London or Championship London, or I think it was still a Pro Tour at that point, which is the you always draw 7, but every time you mulligan, you put back the difference in the number of cards.
Which I think is the cleanest.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think we've actually sort of we've now gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, this is pretty good. Now, you were talking about Commander specifically, and Commander, of course, has a big problem when you're doing a 4-player Commander game and everybody draws a card, and whoever goes last is already disincentivized. And I've seen a thing, I think actually Shivam was talking about this on Twitter, where there was a suggested thing where it's like the person who goes first just goes, and then the second person scries, and then the third person scries 2, and the fourth person draws a card or something to sort of kind of smooth out the turn 1 interaction, which sounded interesting, I guess, but was just, that's not official. That was just like a suggestion. Or there's your option with the drawing 10 and keeping 7 or something. So like for Commander, I don't know, whatever your playgroup wants, but I think for most things, I think the London mulligan is actually pretty good.
You know what I think the best Commander mulligan rule is?
Keep a 7.
Keep a 7 you like.
Yeah, just keep 7.
Yeah, if you drip 4 lands and 3/8 drops, I don't know, get different spells.
I think we were playing once with, I think it was actually we were playing with Gavin from not Gavin Verhey, Gavin Duggan from the Commander Rules Committee, and he was talking about, well, first of all, he was talking about that how they determine who goes first is just whoever gets a 7 that they like. Right, it's just like everyone's at the table shuffling up, and someone draws 7, and it's like, no, I don't like that. Puts it back, whatever. Draws 7. If they're the first person to be like, yeah, I'm going to keep this, they just go land.
That's honestly quite clean. I like that.
It's just like let's just play, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's Commander,
it's
right?
Commander.
Right, and then, and so everyone just they just get their 7s, and they're like, yeah, this is a keepable 7. All right, I'll go.
There's a certain amount of BM, don't mulligan 40 times looking for a specific payload, obviously, But if you I have seen this happen lots of times. You draw 7, there's 1 land. Okay, I'm putting that back.
Yeah.
You draw 7, now I've still got 1 land. Okay, I'm putting that back. You draw 7, I inexplicably still only have 1 land. Right? Sometimes that happens.
This is how we mulligan.
Keep
when
a
we play
playable
Commander.
hand.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be amazing, but you should be able to do something.
Yeah, nobody wants to play a game where you've mulliganed to 4 and have a 90-minute Commander game ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't really get to do anything for 45 minutes
Yeah.
until somebody either deigns to kill you or you draw out of it and just kind of swing from behind. I guess that's kind of a comeback story. It's a real heartwarmer, but it's
super fun.
Yeah, I just keep a 7 is the rule that I like.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions. From Genomancer, which is Gavin Duggan from the Commander Rules Committee. What do you think the distribution of Commander games worldwide looks like along the how established is this playgroup axis?
What a complicated question. Seems simple.
Seems like a question you would be better equipped to answer, Gavin, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one. I imagine most Commander games are happening among established play groups, or at least among established friend groups, even if it's not always the same people playing.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily know that it's always the same four rocking up. I would imagine it's most, rather than just like go into your LGS and be like, yo, any three people want to play Commander?
Although, like,
But I don't know, actually.
I mean, the character of the LGS is still that it is a larger play group, but it's one that you are.
It's your local play group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
that
people.
was kind of like the Warhammer mode.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
you would have an LGS. You would have your friends who you hung out with and painted with, but you would also just rock on down to the LGS some nights and, pick up a game among people you knew.
Yeah.
So
And with like spell table and stuff like that, like you can play with your online friends. And so maybe you have a group of people that you're playing Commander with.
Ignoring
honestly, this feels like a bit of a leading question, and I'm wondering what Gavin is working on here.
Ignoring that Magic Fests obviously haven't been happening for the past 2 years for obvious reasons, there's just no way that playing with a pod of strangers at a live event is a statistically relevant number of Commander games when you consider how many Commander games must be being played in the world at any given moment.
Yeah. I imagine like most people have sort of like what we have going on, whereas like a group of people who play Commander that probably ranges in size from like 4 to 10. And you will play in various configurations of those groups depending on who's available and what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And that could be in person or it could be online, right?
Yeah. I don't know, but that's our best guess. All right. One or two more, maybe? Let's see. From 345 Tomo, they ask, all three of you worked on Unfinity. We did. Hello. Coming in October. Free plug, they say. What surprised you about the process? Would you do it again? What was your favorite part about it? Can't wait until the set's released and you can talk more about it. Great point. Ask. The Magic 8 Ball says, ask again later. We will, the three of us, do a whole episode about just working on Unfinity when, I was going to say closer to, but I think probably after Unfinity is released.
You will not be able to get us to shut up about it. Like, come late October, you'll be like, another Unfinity podcast, huh? You guys are really getting some content out of this one.
But
we're like, no, more tea.
Yeah, but here's the deal. We like literally are not allowed to talk about it, and when Wizard says we can talk about it, we will talk about it.
Yeah. We didn't know that it was going to be October 7th until that was publicly announced with Wingdings. I don't know if you saw that.
Hilarious.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're also very excited for all that to see the light of day.
We can say that the set is very cool, and we can't wait for you to read the cards.
They tweeted out. Mark Rosewater retweeted new art from the set of a sheep, and I recognize it, and I know that card, and I think I remember what it ended up being called, but I can't tell you yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
look forward to
I
that.
will tell you that one of the set's tribes is my favorite implementation of that tribe that I've seen in a very long time.
Ooh,
I'm very excited.
there you
Or
go.
Subtypes.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah.
All right. What, one more? All right, James, bring it on. From Jordan Flux. In the never-ending void that we call life, what is the point of it all? Do we just exist well knowing that everything we do has no impact on anything in the framing of the universe, or do we try and act blissfully ignorant in our own insignificance? Also, favorite mono black legend.
Well, I mean, like, they're I think we are all, caught between the Scylla and Charybdis of everything is impossibly meaningless and everything is impossibly meaningful, right? The unbearable lightness of being problem, and just us in our little boat being like, "Hey, Lamau," threading the needle between the two. Also, Yawgmoth.
God, I
Yawgmoth
live
is-
for a good Scylla and Charybdis reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I always joke about this when I'm like, God, this cat is very small, because we have 2 very large cats. And people are like, what? I was like, well, I mean, like on a cosmic scale, obviously. Because yes, compared to the unknown multitudes of excitement and delight and hyper intelligent shades of blue that exist out in the universe, everything we do is completely meaningless. However, what you do is meaningful to you and the people that you know, and has a great deal of meaning and importance, and you bring joy to the lives of others, or occasionally torment. And if it's torment, you should stop that, because obviously, like, come on, don't you have anything better to do with your life? Look at the scale of the universe, Christ. But it's all a matter of perspective. So, like on a galactic scale, nothing I do matters, but on a local scale, I've at least sold several concert tickets for King Gizzard and Kikagaku Moyu and helped Independent Band. So I feel that's meaningful things that I've done, even though the bands that I've helped promote don't know or care, and it doesn't matter if they know or care, right? But it's something that I personally do. Also Sheldred.
Yeah, I mean, on a cosmic timeline, all human endeavor is ultimately meaningless, but we only get one crack at it, each of us, and so, I endeavor to put as much good out into the world as I can, and make it enjoyable for me and the people I care about, and hopefully as many of you as I can. And phage, because it's funny.
Fight me.
Yeah. Great question. That's going to do it for this Q&A episode of Tap Tap Concede. Of course, a reminder that this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. We really appreciate that. Tap Tap Concede in specific is also brought to you by our friends at Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. Get yourself some Commander Legends. Get your playgroup together and do some Commander Legends. We at time of this airing, we will have previously on the Friday Night Paper Fight done a 4-player draft of Commander Legends, because we figure, then it's just, we do that's one Commander game right there. So the VOD for that should be up by now, or will be very soon. So you can take a look at that and see how that worked. And assuming it worked well, there you go. Try it yourself. Get a box of that, 3 friends, and draft yourself a game of Commander.
With your statistical Commander play group of between 4 and 10 people.
Yeah, exactly. So until next time, I have been Graham, joined by Cameron. Kathleen.
What's up, gamers?
James is
Leave
on.
some fire in the comments.
James is on tech. Heather Getsley is online. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.